call this meeting to order. Roll call has been taken electronically. This meeting of the Ripon Area School District Board of Education has been properly noticed in accordance with the open meeting law and state statute 19.84 and related legal references. Our statement of district vision, one of Wisconsin's finest school districts fostering excellence for all through innovation. We'd like to recognize the FBLA national competitors. Come on up.
Good evening. I'm Mrs. Schmidt. For those of you who don't know me, I know there's some new people on the board. I'm the advisor of the FBLA chapter in Ripon. And I'll let these two introduce themselves, and then I have a presentation to show you about our trip before they share a little bit about their trip. But I'll let them introduce themselves first as I get this ready.
I'm Brett Norton. I'm the AC next year.
My name is Allison Edinger, and I just graduated.
All right. So I have this itself runs here. Let's see what we did while we were gone for our 7 days.
That was good.
Yeah, I think it was. They gave out samples so we could try some of the fun when we were there. So this year, I took 5 students, 2 of which could make it tonight, but they competed in 3 different events. One is a chapter event that Ally and Maddie did. That was local chapter in your business report, and then Ally qualified in an individual event, and then Brendan was part of a group of 3 boys. So I'll let them tell you a little bit about their trip, their events, and then if you have questions for them, feel free to ask.
Okay, so my local chapter annual business report, that was originally a 15-page business report of the FBLA year and just everything we did. So first we made the report, and then at state and nationals we presented just like an overview of the presentation. And then my personal event was electronic career portfolio, and I just made a whole website about myself and why I would be a perfect candidate for a career that I picked, and kind of used all my skills and all my experience to relate back to that. And then I really liked this trip. Out of all my national trips, this was definitely my favorite because we got to do a whole bunch of different stuff, and we had more free time, and it was really fun. My favorite part was the medieval dinner with the horses. That was really cool. And then I also really liked our last dinner because we had some really good food. So that was my favorite part.
Looks like you had great food everywhere.
So I'm Brendan Martin again. I competed with Evan Bergman and Emerson Hendricks in data analysis, and our prompt was to advise a automotive business whether or not to get into the electric vehicle market. So we advised them to do so, and throughout regional, state, nationals, we improved and got some more accurate data and more recent numbers to just kind of improve our presentation, even though we didn't make it onto finals. We still had a great time. My favorite part was probably seeing everybody pin trading. It was really cool because there's 16,000 people in this massive conference center, and pin trading was an amazing way to get all of them, connected. And I felt myself even kind of as an introvert, kind of getting into it and branching out a little bit more.
What is that?
So each state gets pins, and they sell them to the advisors, and then they hand them out. So it's like some states, like Rhode Island, are super rare, so you want to get the rare ones, or China, which looks really awesome. So
you're collecting that?
yes.
Yeah, trading with the kids
You wear
and
them
advisors.
on your lanyard, and then when you're just walking, people will come up to you like, oh, I want that pin, I'll trade you this, or that's kind of cool. But, yeah.
And at medieval times, I learned that I'm severely allergic to horses.
Oh, good to know.
Second time this has now happened. We've gone to medieval times, and he just had allergies, but yeah, after we were there, he's like, yeah, feeling a little stuffy. It's like, strike two, because the first year we went to that years ago in California, we had a young man who was allergic to horses. So I don't know if we can try that again. We were good. He was fine. We got him his inhaler and some allergy stuff when we had no reaction or anything like that. But yeah, the starting horses, just such a fun night. Questions you have for these two or myself on our trip or our experience?
It just looked like an awesome experience, the whole thing.
Yeah, even with that itinerary, it did not seem like we were going to be doing that much. But it was
Every
very
day.
packed. Yeah.
It looked action-packed.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like good warm weather.
Yes,
Oh,
it was.
Too warm.
It was 90 plus with 100-degree heat index every day we were there.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. But the rain never stopped us from doing anything. It rained, well, it delayed us getting there for 2 hours, as you saw. But I figured 2 hours isn't bad. The day we went to Animal Kingdom, it looked like it was going to start, so the kids were like, we're hungry, can we go eat? So when we went to eat, then it started raining, so we only got wet going back to the car after dinner. And then at Universal that night, for FBLA night, it started raining at 10:30, and we were there till 11. So the last half an hour, we had to deal with a little bit of rain. Other than that, the rain didn't inhibit anything that we had planned for our agenda.
And you stayed right on the grounds?
We were at the Doubletree right outside of Universal Studios. So like your state is assigned a hotel, and then based on where your hotel is, they have shuttles. So we had a shuttle that took us to the convention center that we could get on during the days of the conference. And it was like, what, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes away from the conference center. So that's something the national office sets up. With the 5 that I took, 2 are seniors, Allie and Maddie are seniors, so they've graduated, but the 3 boys are underclassmen, they're juniors, so I hope to, next year it's in Anaheim, California. So I'm hoping they
Nice.
can get back and experience,
Disneyland.
yes, and experience the 2nd national conference for these guys. Allie, as she mentioned, this was her 4th national conference. So for me, I was cheering for her all year because she's my first 4-year national conference qualifier. And that's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah.
There's kids who never get there at all, and Allie qualified every single year of her high school career. The first 2 years, she was with a group, and the last 2 years, she was an individual event that qualified herself for nationals. And the first year, she didn't get to go anywhere because that was our virtual year. So she looked forward to the next 3 trips. And Maddie, who went with us, the other senior, she was her partner her freshman year, so this was her physical first national conference, even though it was technically her 2nd conference to compete at the national level. So it was great. Our trip was fun. This was the 9th trip I've taken now with kids where we've gone somewhere.
Thank you.
And every trip just gets more and more fun. These 5 were so laid back, so helpful, so appreciative. Even during the trip, I heard lots of thank you, Mrs. Schmidt, for this experience. It's awesome. And that just warms my heart, because that's what I try and make it when we go on a trip like this, to give them the experience that if they never get back to that city, they've experienced as much of that city as they possibly can. So it was good. It was a success. Check off another one.
Brendan, what was your favorite part?
In training was definitely big.
Okay.
I got a set of 4 New Hampshire crabs from the Harry Potter houses.
Oh,
Really
cool.
I really enjoyed that Longhorn Steakhouse steak. And Universal was really cool as well. It's like a different room.
That's neat.
How many pins did Evan end up with?
Too
Did he have like 25 or 30 or something like that? Yeah. He was, and what's funny is usually when we go to nationals, I buy a set of pins and give the kids a starter set. Like I, as a FBLA chapter, will buy, and they started each with 5. Brennan,
I got 5.
yeah, he got 5, but Evan ended up with, I wouldn't say he came home with 30.
Wow.
He didn't buy any more pins, because you can buy them for $1 from our state advisor and our state officers. He, in his trading skills, even though he started with 5, ended up with like 30 different pins with the trading all the time. So that was fun to watch them all do that, and that is part of the fun, because it's always the coveted pin, the different pins of what they are each year and what they look like. And the first night we were at the conference, Evan actually, the guy that was leading the checking off how many people were getting on the shuttle buses to take us back to the hotels, he had, I don't know what state he had, but it was one Evan wanted. So Evan's like, I'll give you a Wisconsin pin if you trade with me. So he gave him the Wisconsin pin, and the guy gave him that pin. So he actually traded with the guy who wasn't even part of the conference. He was just
Wow.
checking us all with me on the buses. So that was fun. It was a good
Wonderful.
trip. Very successful.
Allie, what was the career that you wrote about?
I wrote about a restaurant manager because I'm a waitress and I was a wrestling manager, and I had like an internship here, so I thought that with my experience I could really, shoot my shot, be the perfect candidate for that position.
Nice.
So can you take that project and, like the process, can that be used for other people?
I think that it's a really cool way to really revamp your resume. It's not just a resume, just for an interview. It's a whole website. So my resume is on the website, but I also have kind of a really an in-depth overview of why all the parts of my resume really would make me a good candidate for this position. So I think a lot of people can really utilize a website instead of just a resume to really set them apart from other candidates in the job position.
Any other questions for him?
Thank you so much for all the time and effort.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you again,
Make sure
Mrs.
it's a smooth trip
Absolutely.
and make sure that our students get to experience so much as they travel. Thank you. It's awesome. It's a
Absolutely,
lot of
yes,
information.
and they were great this year. I unexpectedly had my appendix out in April,
Oh, no.
so when we went on the trip, I still wasn't fully feeling the best yet in terms of carrying heavy things, so I mentioned that to the kids before we left. And the boys everywhere we were grabbed my big suitcase and went, and I never had to ask a second time. So I was truly blessed with great kids to take with me to help me through that. But yeah, hopefully now I'm back on back on 100% and can move forward, but yeah, that was an interesting spring with that taking place.
Wow.
The kids were great for me this year with that, so,
That's great, thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Okay.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And if you have the other ones, I will take them and
Oh,
show to the kiddos
yes.
that aren't here. I'll make sure we get those. Thank you. Thank you. You bet. All right. Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, look at these guys, there's,
You're not gonna see these two, are you?
you're not gonna see these two, right?
I'll keep them. I'll give them to them school Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you.
No visitors. All right, does anybody want to make any adjustments to the agenda? If not, we'll accept the agenda as written. I don't make a motion like that, do I?
No.
Announcements of contributions.
Right, wanted to announce Justin Krieger and Mary Tyler Whitrock donated $250 or more to the Ripon Education Foundation. Former board member Andy Lake donated back his school board member pay in the total amount of $420 back to the district. And Betsy Heffernan donated her $510 for school board member pay back to the district. So we're very grateful for that and thank you for that gesture.
Into new business. Do we have a motion to consider approval of the payroll and benefits manager job description?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, let's see. I forgot where to put those in. Oh, okay, sorry. Denise, okay, any questions or discussions? No? Let's take a vote. Okay, all in favor? Passes unanimously. Next item. Do we have a motion to accept the second reading of the Neola recommended policy and administrative guideline updates to be in compliance with the federal regulations regarding Title IX procedures to be adopted and implemented no later than August 1st? So moved. Let's see.
Second, Gary.
Any questions or discussion? Let's vote. Motion passes. Next item. Consider approval of technical changes of the Neola recommended policy and administrative guidelines updates for Title IX.
So moved.
Let's see.
Second. Denise.
Denise. Any questions or discussion? Okay, let's take a vote. Vote is unanimous in favor. Next item. Do we have a motion to consider approval of the 2024-2025 contract with Northern Express Bus Company? Oh, what did I missed something. No, I guess I didn't. Sorry about that. Consider approval of the 2024-2025 contract with the Northern Express Bus Company. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Tom, a second?
Gary, second, Gary.
Gary. Any questions or discussion regarding this matter?
I was just wondering, does this increase this does increase the renewal term, right, or the term of the contract?
Did you want to speak to that?
Yes, it increases it to 2 additional years.
So it was like a 3-year, right?
It was a 5-year.
5-year.
And so this extent, it's something that they had asked us, but as we kind of discussed the thought behind it, we thought it might actually make sense for us to extend it 2 years because the contract terms, have a cap of 5% built into the contract. Otherwise, it just matches inflation. And so, with a minimum 2%. And so we thought that the terms of the contract are favorable to us, and maybe even more importantly than that, they've been a really great partner since they've arrived, so we thought it might make sense to do.
Yeah, I've only heard good things about this bus company, so.
And they are a smaller business, so I think from that standpoint, they're looking for that stability and knowing where they're at in the future.
I've heard good things from parents as well. Can get a hold of somebody and it's.
Seems like they're able to keep drivers.
They've done a better job of that. Yeah.
It's always a challenge,
It has to be a challenge.
but they have done this job.
Anybody else? Let's vote. Thanks, John.
Thank you for all your work on that, John.
Thanks.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next, we move on to personnel. We have a motion to consider approval of professional staff voluntary transfers. Katie? And a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? Let's vote. Motion carries. Next we have consider approval to hire professional staff. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Lily? Any questions or discussion?
It looked like you guys are excited about these candidates. Awesome.
It's always a challenge to fill positions,
Yeah.
but we seem to keep landing great candidates.
There were a lot of,
And we're really
I'm
excited.
surprised how many candidates you had.
And occasionally we'll have a candidate that we offer a position to and they don't accept it.
Mhm.
Sometimes the next candidate that, will repost a position, someone even say, well, I think this was a stronger candidate than the one we originally looked at. So,
That's great.
so that's been really positive.
Anything else? Let's vote. Motion carries. Next item, consider, is there a motion to consider approval of overload stipends?
I'll move to make that motion.
Denise and Katie, any questions or discussion? No? Let's vote. That carries as well. Okay, we have, do I have a motion to consider approval of items 8.2 through 8.9 of the consent agenda?
So moved.
In theory, you need to ask if anybody needs anything.
Before,
removed.
okay, I thought something was taken out, I guess. That's why I didn't do that. So
Maybe I'm
first-
wrong, Jolene, am I wrong? Do we do that first?
You want to remove something?
Yes.
First, I have to ask if anybody wants to remove anything.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't know why I thought something was taken out. Does anybody want to remove anything from the consent agenda? No. Anybody? All right. All right. We want to accept the, or approval of the consent agenda. Let's see. Does anybody want to make a motion to accept the consent agenda as written?
So moved.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Tom is who I heard. Sorry. All right.
Make sure you match.
And then, we still vote on that?
Yep.
Yes. So the other one we don't vote on, the regular agenda. Right. All right, let's vote on the consent agenda. All right, passes. Next category, we have superintendent report.
All right, and truly our legislative updates, you really just took care of the timeline and language changes in those two policies. The one thing that we are able to do in the Title IX policies and within our harassment policies is to just list the title of the position of the person that will be our compliance officer instead of the name of the actual person. We've gone back and forth, and there have been times where it's, it's a significant effort to make that change and change that. So right now, we have the correct names in there, so we leave it, but at some point, if we ever have any changeover, we probably will just go back to that generic position, so we don't have those updates all the time. We would put the actual person in the handbooks and on the website, so they would be easy to find. The other item on here are the WASB resolutions that were adopted by the delegate assembly, so those are available for you to look at and review if you have any questions.
I just have a comment,
Yeah.
more than a question. I mean, it would be nice if they had an executive summary of what was updated this round, because it's, you read through them, it has the parentheses, the year that it was legislated. Then you have to kind of go through everything to find them.
Yeah, I think there's a good way to interpret the document, Tom, as you say, just in your years of, it's showing that maybe that it continues to be supported if you see those numbers from years and years as being significant.
You should be a delegate. Next year.
You ask a question.
No, I just thought it'd be nice, and sometimes when you have these continuous reports, you just get what are the changes at the top.
The actual delegate packet would have more of the detail. So if you paired that with the ones that were actually selected, you have kind of the detail behind it
And the WASB website has more information to it.
It was just a comment of.
Yeah,
trying to
because now
find
we
out
know
what's
this is
new.
what they're doing moving forward.
All right. Finance and operations. Oh, that's the WASB resolutions. That goes right along with that. nothing really new there then even, other than what you just,
For the WASB.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Graduate profile and education for employment update. Chrissy?
I can come up.
Sorry, Joan, I didn't mean to scare you there.
No, I didn't know how to respond.
So I am excited just to be able to share this work with the board this month. This is a culmination of a lot of planning that stems all the way back to 2019 during our district strategic planning meeting regarding the graduate profile summary that we had created. And I had the pleasure of working with Dakota Camler, one of our new high school counselors this summer, as well as during the school year when he was brought on to work on the Education for Employment plan. And as part of the requirements of public notices, one of the things that board members have to do is to review that plan. And I will bring that forward to the board probably every summer around this time, just so that you can take a look at what our long-range goals are and plans. And then as part of PI 26.04, we actually are required to post that plan on our district's website as well. Under that Education for Employment long-range plan, we have, or we would like to include that graduate profile summary that you saw as an attachment. Again, that's really a combination of the identification of the various characteristics that we hope to see as our students graduate from Ripon High School. And then we created that visual because we wanted to not only identify the characteristics, but also really those student learning targets or outcomes associated with each of those. And that visual just, I think, is a really nice representation of what that work is that we identified. And that would be part of our website also that we would post along with our Education for Employment plan. I don't know if anyone has any specific questions about the plan itself. You can see there's a lot of information, and we will only add to this as we bring together fully our Education for Employment team, and we review this as well. But I think we did a nice job of capturing all of the things that are in place and things that we hope to work on in the coming years as well.
So how is this, I think I read a little bit in, that you partner with community and business and industry. So how is this distributed, or how is it used? I know it's on our website. Can students like take this profile and, for example, create a resume out of it, or as they're applying to graduate or to school, post-secondary, it seems like it would be a useful tool to speak to as they want to gain admissions or something.
Absolutely. I know we've also discussed, some districts are having students as they enter high school even start to put together a portfolio to start to provide, I guess, evidence of those different skills that they would then use towards building their resume, which I think is a great idea also. As you know, we've had some transition in our high school department, so we look forward to, being able to continue some of the work and conversations around that and how we might be able to actually utilize this information. It's, unlike so many other academic assessments and things, it can be difficult to gather evidence of how students are actually meeting this criteria. In that regard, I think having a portfolio to demonstrate that might be an effective way. And again, it's really intended for students, right, to be able to market themselves and that sort of thing.
I know at the tech college, we had the employability skills that they were eventually infused into curriculum. So each of those indicators were part of courses,
Yes,
not every
absolutely.
course, but that would be one way you could gauge it or to measure it.
The transferable skills that we have moved to at the high school also for grading, excuse me, actually do incorporate some of these pieces too. That was part of the conversation as we were developing those as well. So yes, trying reading practices as well, where we can, I think it's certainly important to do.
It's nicely done.
So those portfolios, Chrissy, so just for those of you who don't know, Chrissy and I both attended the trip to Australia to the Field Learning Village last summer. Those portfolios, do you feel like those would be helpful in terms of parent-teacher conferences and things like that? In terms, like, since we talked about the portfolios for each
Absolutely.
student and kind of showing off their skills, and because everybody thinks that they're never going to remember to tell their parents.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really impressive piece that we did see at Infeld, for sure. Where in those portfolios started already at the elementary level, so students just kept adding to those. This graduate profile is reflected, these are the skills that we want all of our graduates to leave with from Ripon High School. So I feel like some of these, and we've talked about this, would be modified at each building to reflect what those skills might look like more at each, each level. But absolutely, Katie, I think it would be a really cool project to begin that portfolio development, and, to figure out what that would look like, even with our youngest learners, for sure. Any other questions at all? Okay, thank you.
Next on the agenda, general fund interim budget report. That's you.
So the year is not quite wrapped up because we have an audit. It's going to be, auditors going to be on site on Thursday. And so they help us do some year-end adjustments and just make sure that we have, like for example, our medical plan, make sure that all the liabilities match the premium expenses that we recorded. But anyways, things are looking really, really good. So we've received 100% of the revenue that we projected, a little bit more than 100%. And then as far as expenses go, a little bit under what we projected. We should be able to add to the general fund balance and to Fund 46. And so we're just in a really good spot. I'm feeling very optimistic about next year and even the year after, because this current year that started in July, because we're in the new school year, fiscal year. I'm feeling optimistic about this year and then next year, because for one thing, our medical plan ran well. And so I think that that's a really good sign of things to come. The goal would be that in January, we don't have to increase premiums, we can keep them flat. And we've budgeted tentatively for some increases there. So I'm just feeling really good about our budget right now. So, and
That's good.
it's been a difficult time around the state, but we are doing well largely because we preserved our ESSER funds. So, anybody have any questions about that?
You stay on the hot seat. Good luck on the audit.
Yeah.
Hope you sleep.
Yeah. I don't worry about it too much.
No, you do well.
Yeah,
Okay, what about the food service interim budget?
Through May, we had a surplus. I think we are going to end the year with a deficit, which is what we had planned on. And the reason that we had to plan on that was because the fund balance in Fund 50 was too high, according to the state. They only want you to have 3 months of spending in reserve. A lot of schools, including schools that had a lot of financial difficulties this year, had a really good fund balance in Fund 50, so it's kind of a universal thing. We had more revenue through COVID. And so the deficit that we have this year is from buying some capital equipment, kitchen equipment items that the board has approved, and offering free breakfast and keeping meal prices flat. And I think that next year, we will see if the state wants us to spend on fund balance more. And if they do, then we'll buy more capital equipment for the kitchens, because there are some costly things that we could buy But if not, we'll try to preserve fund balance to offer free breakfast as long as we can, you know? So, we'll see.
That's good.
It's good news.
Any questions, anybody? Thanks, John. Advanced planning. Our next meeting, regular board meeting is August 19th. I think that's all we have coming up. And then, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Well, second.
All right, let's vote. Adjourn. And we're adjourned.
Thank you very much.